right. Hello, everybody. Here to talk about how to make marketing that everybody loves and may touch on the future of marketing to boot. But first, I want to take us back about 10 years ago. So I'd like to ask, actually, could you turn off your iPod? And if possible, log out of MySpace. Come on, work with me, people. This is good stuff. Blockbuster. Distracting if you've got to return your late fees. Thank you, Brian. I want to take you back 10 years to where digital marketing was 10 years ago. And back then, digital had made a whole bunch of promises to people. It had promised to be this real-time channel of live communication with consumers. It had promised to be this incredible, rich, and engaging interactive experience. And it had promised to be the most measurable, the most accountable marketing medium ever. But unfortunately, marketing bucked up against a 100-year-old truism that everybody in this room, I suspect, knows: the 50% of my marketing dollars are wasted and I just don't know which half, the Wanamaker quote. And if you spent 5 minutes thinking about it and you unpack that, you said, 50% of my advertising dollars, that seems like a massive amount of inefficiency and waste. If you said, I don't know which half, you'd say to yourself, that seems like a lot of opacity for a big market. And if you said it's been a tagline for the industry, it's effectively been the albatross around the neck of the profession for 105 years, you would say to yourself, that sounds awfully lazy, doesn't it? And it made sense. Business processes had become calcified. Business processes and business models had grown up around the world of mass media. And advertisers who may have had an incredibly nuanced, incredibly sophisticated view of who their best customers were, why they were building products, what needs they were meeting, basically had to forget all of that. And when they spoke to their agency, they would talk about age and income. They would talk about women 18 to 25. And the agency, in turn, would go talk to media companies and big TV broadcasters, radio, terrestrial radio, would talk about print, magazines, and newspapers. And they would talk about reach and frequency and gross ratings points and CPMs. And the creative process was about building the average creative for the average person, usually based on the subjective opinion of what was best in a small 12-person room. It was marketing. When we started Media Math back in 2007 and this programmatic marketing, dare I say, revolution, we saw something really interesting happen. We saw these little ad exchanges that promised a lot of the same things that stock market exchanges promised in financial markets. And they promised liquidity and they promised automation. And back then, they were interesting. The technologies were quite nascent. The exchanges themselves were quite small. The ads that they were selling were only the ads that a media company could sell in absolutely no other way. And we looked at that and we said, there is opportunity. They got bought by Google and Yahoo and Microsoft. And we said, if we could stitch these all together into one software layer, if we could layer in data and insights in order to make high-quality marketing decisions, what ad to buy, how much to pay for it, what to show people, and if we could bring in AI, the math part of media, and bring machine learning to bear to automate those high-quality marketing decisions in real time, in runtime, we could finally flip the script on marketing. It would stop being about spend, it would start being about outcomes, and you could change the market. And a little bit vainglorious, but as Archimedes said, with a long enough lever I can move the world, we said, give us the lowly banner ad, and with that we can change marketing and we can banish Wanamaker forever. So, in order to do that, we said to ourselves, we need to deliver 10x ROI. Right? No one's going to pay attention to anything less than 1,000% better performance than the status quo. If something is 10% off, if something you get 20% more, that doesn't stir the blood, right? No one gets out of bed any faster for 10 or 20%. 1,000% better, and people will hire differently, people will train their teams differently, they will invent new business models, and if you could do all of that, it would be amazing. And so we did that and we proved it, and then we immediately stopped for a second and we gave it all away. So we turned it into a platform, we licensed it to the industry, and we said, please invent on top of this and let's figure this thing out together. And now, 400 billion impressions a day, right? Not the lowly banner ad on desktop, but desktops, laptops, mobile devices in your hand, tablets, the big TVs on your wall, the really, really big screens in football stadiums, the little screens in your office elevator, the little screens in the backseat of taxis. From digital back then, 10 years ago, being a sliver of overall media investment, digital now obviously north of 50%, and programmatic from a sideshow, from a niche market, now 50% of digital. And while we took our inspiration from finance, what's happened in media has far surpassed what's happening in the financial markets. Now 10 times the volume of the world's financial markets summed running through these platforms. And MediaMath's riding this wonderful crest, and we're working with every global agency holding company in the world, from Omnicom and WPP and Dentsu to the world's best brands, Procter & Gamble and Uber and IBM and Coke. And as Arthur C. Clarke said, any sufficiently advanced technology indistinguishable from magic. And the fact that a CMO can sit in her office and push a button and change how her brand is displayed on billions of screens in real time is magic. Compared to where we were 10 years ago, compared to where we were 5 years ago, it's a different world. Wanamaker's head would spin. And yet, we are not making magic. Everybody still hates ads. They are too annoying, they are too intrusive, they're either flat, or it's the experience that, who here has had the proverbial pair of shoes, they put in their shopping cart, they decided they didn't want to buy it, perhaps they did buy it, and the shoes are still following them around 2 years later. And some of the most advanced advertisers out there are spending their time influencing elections and the political system. How do we resolve this cognitive dissonance? How do we make ads perform to their potential? And let me be clear, they absolutely have to. Advertising is the 3% of gross domestic product that drives the other 97%. Okay? It is not the tail that wags the dog. It is the nose of the dog that smells and senses the world around it and tells the body what to do. It is the connective tissue between human want and need and desire to the productive capacity of the world, right? That companies that build products and services turn around and fulfill those human needs. That's advertising. And if you think about a good consumer experience, so I've got an 11-year-old son, went together to see Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And got a beautiful plush Upper West Side Manhattan movie theater, and we were sitting down and we were so excited to see, Star-Lord and Gamora and meet Baby Groot for the first time. And there were these 2 one-minute ads that were transformative. It was Star Wars Last Jedi, and it was Thor Ragnarok. And those little 1-minute ads made the whole experience better. They made the 2 hours we were going to spend in the movie more exciting, and they made us look forward to what was coming 3 months and 6 months hence. Right? They were rich, they were engaging, they were targeted, they were good ads. And I'll make the obvious point, but advertising continues to pay for a free internet. Right? It is the only globally accepted microcurrency that funds the news and the content and the entertainment that we all crave. And it's not just the Facebooks and the Instagrams or the Googles and the YouTubes, right? It is also Axel Springer and Globo and Viacom and Vivendi, Televisa. All of these things are ad supported. So if you're a marketer, and I know that there are a ton of you in this room, if you work in a company that uses marketing to reach your customers and prospects, if you run a company and you need to launch a brand, the Casper mattress that's creating a category and reaching a niche audience, if you need to save a brand, if you need to exalt a brand, this stuff matters to you. And so if you see ads during the day, if you walk around your day and you see advertising, put it another way, if you do not live in a mountaintop bunker and the only thing you have done is come to this conference and you're about to go back again, you should care about ads. Perhaps not as passionately as I do, but certainly darn close. Cool. All right. So how do you help? I want to talk about where we are as an industry and how this room, and I kid you not, how this room can help. I think it's extremely important that we get woke, right? To understand how this stuff actually works, what good looks like, what the real risks are. It is the right time. It is as technology is transforming every aspect of life, every industry, every discipline. It's as AI, artificial intelligence, is becoming mainstream. And people are asking themselves, what is the application of AI in the practice of oncology, in how I do my taxes, right? In what is the role of the human truck driver in an era of self-driving cars? And the amazing part about AI in marketing is, one, it's been around for a while, it's fairly well established, and you can see the output of the algorithm when you look at your screen. It is a wonderful catalyst for conversations that we actually need to have. Beanie Meth has had an institute, New Marketing Institute. It's basically been our educational arm. And we've been trying to bring this content about modern marketing, data-driven marketing, quantitative marketing, programmatic, to people largely as they've been transitioning out of an industry into marketing or recent college graduates. But I think we need to do more, right? I think in working with the Interactive Ad Bureau, the IAB, and working with the Data and Marketing Association, the DMA, and global associations and their equivalents worldwide, we need to bring this stuff to people, right? We need to explain to people how all of this works. We're committed to doing it. We're committed to putting it earlier in the college experience, places in Singapore and San Francisco and Sao Paulo and Sydney. And so my ask, and I kid you not, I want people, as crazy as this sounds, to start talking about advertising. Start talking about the ad experience that you as human beings want and that you as human beings deserve. And if you are like me, you might do it at home. More realistically, please do it at the office, and please do it here. Second, it is really important that we point this incredible machinery at the stuff that is important. The marketing department has been talking about spend, has been talking about clicks. Who here still looks at click-through rates as a metric to validate whether their dollars are being spent in the right way? And if you thought about that for a second, and you said your sales department talks about the success, the metric of their success as number of Salesforce entries, you might think you had a problem. If you talk to your engineers, and your engineers looked and said, hey, it's the number of lines of code committed, that's the measure by which I should be judged, you would be puzzled, right? As opposed to, am I actually selling product, right? Am I, or even better, what's my client impact? For engineers, it's not about lines of code committed, it's did the product work, right? Is my client delighted by that? And marketing needs to catch up, I think. So your keywords: attribution, outcomes. Straightforward. Literally connecting the inputs of marketing to the real life metrics that the rest of the business cares about. And we got to hold ourselves to that standard. And then it's to find new applications for this technology. This whole stuff has been built on the backs of B2C. And it makes great sense. That's where the dollars were being spent. Those were the marketers that had the biggest problems. But it's going to transform business-to-business marketing. The HubSpots, I love the fact that their transformation in small and mid-sized businesses, right? New brands that need to reach a new audience, equally important for them. And I'm seeing some amazing applications in peer-to-peer, right? Where people are literally using this enterprise-grade technology to have human-to-human conversations over the web. And I, for example, have used ads to wish my darling wife a happy anniversary. She's in the audience right now. 23 years later, sample size of 1, seems to be working. Next, use this stuff to do good works, right? The fact is, we launched MediaMath.org 2 years ago, and it's part of the 1-1-1 program. So 1% of company time, team's time, 1% of a pro bono contribution of our product and our platform, and a 1% contribution of company's equity in order to fund good works, right? Literally in order to take causes and nonprofits and the things that we as a community care about and make them become world-class marketers in and of their own right. Things like curing global hunger, kid you not, thousands of vision surgeries, giving people sight back, bringing entrepreneurship to underserviced schools in underserviced areas. This is the opportunity that we have in this next generation of marketing. So, when we do our part, We can have marketing that is magic, can allow innovative new companies to reach their customers at scale. We can transform massive organizations from building products and getting up on a rooftop and shouting, look at me, look what I got, to turning around and literally building for what their consumers are asking for. The internet remains free. We finally have digital that pays off on its original promise, right? A real-time connection with human beings, a rich, engaging, emotional experience, and the most measurable and accountable medium out there. An advertising experience we're happy to share. We'll make marketing magic. We'll have made marketing that works. And as I say to my team, Larissa, how many times have you heard this? If not us, who? If not now, when? And I honestly and genuinely encourage people to become part of this conversation. Thank you.